a new species emerged that could survive in the context of new climate conditions. We call it now Homo erectus. And this is where Paul Lawrence says a new independent drive emerges in our brain. And he labels that drive the drive to bond. Because now that we're basically exposed to the threats of the savannah, we can survive by ourselves very poorly. We need to become social. We need to work together with others. We need to bond. And the fossil records and all we know about Homo erectus shows us that they were tribal. We are tribal. We survived only because we could make fire, nourish that fire, hunt, and work together as a community. Individually, we would be unable to defend ourselves against large predators, against potentially other tribes. But working together, we would be able to increase our survival chances. In this context, what happened is that our brain developed quite substantially from our prior Homo habilis ancestors to Homo erectus. We see that the brain size is increasing quite drastically. What does that say? That says to current neuroscientists that we developed skills and had to develop skills to be able to live in community. Our brain grew so that we could live in tribes, that we could be social. You see that the skull and the brain size is getting bigger and bigger over time. And so our brain is increasing in its capability, and the social capability requires a lot of brain size, which at the same time leads us to form nuclear families, because babies with a bigger brain cannot develop inside the womb of the woman. They need to develop outside so that they can still be born alive and then develop. We need to form families. While a giraffe, for example, or any other type of animal, once it's born, typically is able to live independently, humans of the Homo erectus type were not. And neither are we, of course. So what happens is that if a human baby by itself is left alone, it cannot survive. It requires the protection of the mother at least, but ideally of a father and a community around it. Because the infant grows slowly, the brain can grow, and what we would call teenage years are required to mature the brain until a person, a Homo erectus infant, would become able to live independently. It needs the protection of the tribe, the community. So we are fundamentally social. Our survival chances in that phase of Homo erectus were improved by fire, because we could then keep warm, we could cook food, we could use and hunt bigger prey, cut it up, roast it, preserve it, and help ourselves digest more quickly. With this bigger brain, we needed a nuclear family, we created tribal bonding, and this is what led, according to Paul Lawrence, to brain and neural mass that would allow us to do such things that prior species weren't, and that made Homo erectus survive for the time being. Paul Lawrence says we have the drive to acquire as an independent drive, the drive to defend as an independent drive, and since Homo erectus, an independent drive to bond. We are social. Fundamentally so.